The RBI has, as inflation continued to spiral out of control despite successive rate hikes. Here is D. Subbarao on inflation.
We tend to miss out the trade-off that's available in growth and unemployment, in inflation and unemployment, which can translate into a debate between growth and inflation, which is saying that if you tolerate a higher level of inflation, probably you can get a higher level of growth. We investigated into that question in the Reserve Bank, and we find that that debate, that contention does not hold. It's not clear if the Phillips curve argument about the inflation-unemployment trade-off or the growth-inflation trade-off actually operates anywhere in the world. It certainly doesn't operate in India, and certainly not at this level of inflation. The number of inflation that came out this morning was 8.66% for the month of April, which is high. Evidence shows that perhaps Phillips curve argument, the trade-off between growth and inflation, can be exploited below a threshold level of inflation. But above a threshold level of inflation, there is no trade-off to exploit. The logical question people ask is, what is the threshold inflation level for India? Again, there is no hard research evidence on this, but cursory evidence shows that the threshold is about 5%. Perhaps if inflation is below 5%, you could tolerate a slightly higher level of inflation for higher growth, but if inflation is above 5%, and if indeed it is above 8% as it is now, there is no trade-off to exploit. If you try to drive up growth by driving up inflation, what you would get left with is higher inflation because growth will revert to the mean. So, if there is no Phillips curve trade-off to exploit, people ask the next question, all right, you cannot get higher growth by tolerating higher inflation, but is the persistence of inflation over the last 2 years, does it say that there is a new normal for inflation? And that argument also was raised in part by the economic survey, which talked about probably persisting higher levels of inflation than we tend to believe is comfortable because of two factors. They talked about globalization and they talked about financial inclusion.